I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
So today we're going to hear from someone with a special message. And this is Kailani Jackson. She is currently the vice president of our Unity board. Beautiful inside and out. Very gentle heart. Yes, yes, applause, applause. So gentle and so generous and hardworking. And I think I don't know Hawaiian very well, but maybe Ke aloha. Kailani means heavenly sea. Is that right? Heavenly ocean? Okay. And you are heavenly ocean. Kailani Jackson.
Aloha. Oh my God, my heart is so full as I look at it, all of my beautiful, special friends, family. Thank you so much for being here. I'm hoping I'll be able to make it through without crying too much. But I want you to know how much I love you. If you could all just give yourself a hand for me, loving you. I don't know, I need to talk into the mic. I love you so much. Thank you for all of the people that make the service happen. We wouldn't be able to do that without you. Thank you for Al on sound, Emina, my son, and Carrie on video and making all of that happen. Robin, beautiful music. Ke aloha today is going to be my clicker. Yeah, so because you guys know I can't talk and click. So she's doing that for me. But if I could have my son or someone to take the pulpit down off the stage for just a moment. Many of you know, they're going to do hula, right wherever you want it. Just so. Okay, thank you. Most of you know the story of my husband and I love affair and how he transitioned in 2018. And we were planning to come to Maui to retire in 2018. At the end of 2017, he went into the hospital and they committed a medical error. They didn't think he was going to make it past the day, but he lived for 3 months. And he said, I'm taking a breath every day because I love you and I don't want to leave you alone. And he fought and he fought. But a week after his birthday, 10 days before he transitioned, he called me to his bedroom. We were in the hospital the whole time and I was there. That was my living space. And he said, listen, if I don't make it, 3 things I want you to do. I immediately, no, I'm not hearing any of that. I said 3 things I want you to do. I want you to go back home to Hawaii. Number 2, I want you to go back to school. Go all the way to your PhD because I know that's the only thing you regretted you didn't do. And number 3, I want you to not be alone because I was a loner, introverted loner. None of you believe that today, right? Introverted loner. He knew me. He said, I want you to be in the community and be the love that you are, be the light that you are, and be a blessing where you are. And get to this amazing message that we've created. And I say we because it takes a community to do what we do. I thank Reverend Blaine who allowed me to be here in this sacred space. And he knows I'm going to act up, but he trusts me anyway. He knows I'm going to act up. But I do, I look out and I see so many beautiful faces of those who love me, my family, and even new people that I've met. And I want to thank you all again for being here. Today we're going to talk about the gift of discomfort. When we say that, it's like, I don't want to talk about discomfort, right? Well, we're going to talk about it. And there's a great quote from Rumi, one of my favorite Sufi poets. And he says, there is a candle in your heart. Where is it? In your heart. Ready. Is it maybe a little bit ready? Gonna be ready? Ready. To be kindled. There is a void. A what? Uh-oh. In your what? In your soul. It may be ready. Not ready. Ready to be filled. You feel it, don't you? He's asking that question of us. And so today, as we talk about discomfort, we want to talk about what is it. And discomfort can have all kind of ranges. We can stub our toe in the middle of the night. How many have ever done that? That's a discomfort, right? Or we could be bringing life into the world. That's closer to extreme pain, but it can be discomfort in there too, right? What else? Anybody else? What can make you have discomfort? Your stomach acts up, or you're in traffic and somebody does something, then something rises up and you want to say some four-letter words that you know may not be appropriate, or fly some fingers, right? Discomfort. But today we're going to talk about discomfort in the positive ways that it can change our life. As Rumi talked about that void. And so discomfort has gifts in it that we're going to discover today. We're going to take a journey. You ready to go with me? We're going to make 4 stops on this journey. And it's going to be very enlightening. I had so much fun as I was preparing it. I was laughing, crying on the floor, throwing things up in the air because it was hitting me first before I could give it out to you. So discomfort to me is a drumbeat of the spirit. When we hear a drum beat, there is a message, right, that's coming to us. And many times we may not be in tuned enough to know what it's saying to us. And so discomfort prepares us. Yep, I'm sorry, I didn't. Thank you. So you see that little hole down there? That's the comfort zone. But up there it says, in that big place, that's where the what happens. That's where the magic happens. And how many of you like comfortable things? All right. I like a comfortable pillow. That's a must, right? Comfortable bed, some comfort food. What else do we like comfortable? I heard somebody say routine. Okay, routine, right? There are a lot of things that we find comfort in, and comfort is good. There's sometimes we need comfort. There's sometimes we need to be comforted, right? So all of that is a good thing. So we're not talking about plain comfort. Comfort's good. But we're going to use the analogy of a mama bird and a bird nest and a baby bird. So most of you know that when the mama bird is expecting, she starts building that nest, right? She puts all kind of sticks and stuff in it, and then she puts feathers and soft things, right, to have the babies on, right? So the babies are sitting in the nest after they're born. They're just having a great time. They're looking around, the skies above them, mom's flying, bringing in pate worms, and they're just having a great time. They're just skinny little things, and then they start getting feathers. And they're like, oh, I'm looking good. Look, I don't have wrinkles anymore. I got feathers. They're watching mama fly and things look good. But the day comes, the mama knows, God knows, our higher self knows, that it's time to start pulling some of those sticks out. So she because the nest only has one purpose. We know birds don't live in nests, right? Nests are for a specific beginning, mid-place, and an end, right? She prepares it because she knows that's where she wants them to live for a certain amount of time in that comfort zone. But the day is coming where they got to get out the nest. So she starts removing the sticks, and the birds are like, "Hey, woman, what you doing, lady?" They're like, "That felt good. I was resting on that. Now something's sticking me." And next she keeps pulling stuff out, and the feathers are gone, and they're not liking it. And pretty soon, mama is nudging them. Now, they know they've got these wings. They've been playing around, looking at the feathers. Just, "Oh, I'm looking good. Look at that." And they've watched mama fly, but mama starts pushing them towards the edge. They're like, "Hey, lady, there's a cliff over that side. I haven't been down there. What you doing?" And she's getting them ready. Why? Because she knows they were not meant to stay in the comfort zone. They were meant to fly. God knows that about us. God knows we're meant to soar. We're meant to be in the world. We're meant to have purpose. We're meant to do many things. We're going to talk about a little bit as we go. But that's that analogy of that comfort zone. We can try to stay comfortable. How many of you have ever tried to stay comfortable when you know that God, the divine, the universe, yourself, your giftings have been calling you to greater things? I'll raise my hand, and I'm like, nope. That requires being around people. I don't like people. You guys do not believe that there was a time that I did not like people, right? Discomfort pushed me. We're going to talk about it. But so that's where the magic happens is not in the comfort zone. But the only thing that gets us from that comfort zone to where the magic happens is pushing over that edge. Yes. Because comfort it's an impediment now to those dreams. We're not going to live small. All right. I think we're going to the next slide. Thank you so much, Kailoha. I couldn't do both of those things. So discomfort is like a check engine light. I love this analogy. It's like a check engine light. How many of you have ever had a vehicle that had a check engine light come on? Maybe not a lot of you. Right? There's a couple of things we do when that check engine light comes on. If you have money to take care of it, you go see somebody to figure out what it is, because it's doing what? It's trying to get your attention, right? It's telling you something is going on and you need to handle it now. Otherwise, you're going to have a bigger problem. But if you don't have finances or, to handle it, sometimes you keep rolling and just pray. That stuff doesn't go wrong. I've been in both situations. I know how they both feel. So we have an internal check engine light that is the driving force of our life, and the divine, the universe, and our higher self say, "Hey, pay attention." That's what discomfort is. It's, hey, there's something else you planned, something else we created, something else you hoped for, something else you dreamed about. And these are the things that we need to do to get this done. You've been in the comfort zone a little while, okay? Now it's time to move. And so that's what the discomfort can be. A check engine light. Pay attention. Something's going on. All right. Now this quote is so special. I don't know if you guys can really appreciate what it's saying. Somebody read it for me. What? What is currency? Money, a method of exchange, right? So it's saying the way that you pay for your dreams starts with what? Discomfort. Wow. That's major. So it's saying, pay attention. You have dreams, you have hopes, you have visions, and I got to move you through this in stages. And we're going to talk about those stages. Okay, and I want to thank you. And I want to say that sometimes the discomfort is coming from the universe, from God, from the ethos, from the atmosphere, and sometimes it's coming from your higher self. I have said that several times because there's a knowing in you that we're in the secret place that keeps all the secrets and all of the dreams and all of the things, giftings that they know, that I know, that you know you can do, or you've been positioned in this time and space. How many of you know it's not an accident you are here today on this day and you're still breathing, right? You're still alive. BB is celebrating 99. Today she's 99. Last week, we celebrated Alan's 100th birthday. And they're still here. They're still here for a reason, right? So our higher self knows the dreams that we want to accomplish. But a lot of times, our conscious mind is like, nope, that's going to require this. That's going to require that. I got a little small, all of those things. So sometimes it's our higher self setting us up too. I just want to make that clear. Okay, so the goal of discomfort is transformation. Transformation and change are similar, but they're very different. Change, how many of you know, can happen without your permission, right? There are things that go on that you wasn't planning for and you wasn't hoping for and you don't want to see. I talked about one of mine today, my spouse leaving this planet. Nope. No, you're not going anywhere. But he transitioned. So change happens sometimes without of our control. But transformation never happens without our participation. We cannot transform unless we are actively, consciously working on transformation. Discomfort is what walks us to that door. Okay. Thank you. So we're going to go into Ezekiel 47, verse 1 through 5. And Ezekiel was my kind of prophet. If you've ever read the book of Ezekiel, he was crazy. He was out by himself. He was talking to stuff, dreaming, seeing visions. Spielberg and all of them had nothing on Ezekiel. If you go see the visions and things he saw, man, we haven't even been able to touch and put that together yet on this earth. So he was just all over the place. And at the time, the children of Israel were being held captive. They were in a desolate place. They had no power. The land had dried up. Food had dried up. And I can just imagine when Ezekiel finished with chapter 46, I'm sure he was doing chapters back then. When he finished with chapter 46, he sat down by a tree with a fig, and he was getting ready to do some Netflix and chill. He could Netflix and chill then. He could see it in his own mind, but he was ready. I'm tired. I'm done. And he hears this voice say, hey, God, nope. I'm done with you and your people. I'm sure that's what he said. I can imagine. And so he looked and heard this voice again, and he's like, Nope. And then there was this pregnant pause from the universe. You know them kind when you say something really crazy to one of your parents and they just get silent because you know something else is coming after that. So Ezekiel hurried up and got up. And the being, the person, the voice, the entity, the spirit, took him to the temple. Amazing thing, he takes him to the temple. And as Ezekiel is standing there, and remember, metaphysically, what does the temple represent? Anybody? It represents us. Our body, our soul, our spirit. That's the temple. You know, it's broken up in 3 pieces. The body, the soul, and the spirit. They all do separate, distinct things, but they're all one. And so, as he is standing at the temple, now remember, this is a desolate land. There's nothing going on. Water starts flowing from the threshold of the temple. And this being goes out and measures it. And it's 1,000 cms or something. Y'all know I'm not scientific. But they measure it. And he goes in. And that's where we want to start. Let's go to the next one. So as he is there, let me get to my spot. As he's there, the water starts coming and it's ankle deep at first. Now remember that this being has measured it, right? Because we're going to talk about what that measurement is. And he's standing there and it's ankle deep. Now most of you don't have a problem with ankle deep water, right? Ankle deep water, okay, we okay with that. There's some ankle, but it's still a miracle because it's kind of coming from this temple in a desolate land. So the ankle deep is about opportunities. Let's go to our next screen. How many of you remember Howard Hughes? Right? At one time, Howard Hughes was the richest man in the United States. I want to tell you a little bit about him because this is going to help us understand discomfort, transformation, and what we're talking about. So Howard Hughes was raised by 2 parents. His father was a Texas oil magnate who had lots and lots of money, and he had plenty of stuff that he was doing. And his mom was a debutante socialite with OCD. And when she was giving birth to him, she almost died. So once he was born, she made him, until he was about almost 10-ish, sleep in her bedroom, which meant that the father was probably somewhere else, right? Maybe, might have been there too, but she had this fear, an inordinate fear of germs and of death. And so she kept him locked in her room, in her bedroom. And he grows up shy. He's very introverted. He's partially deaf. And the father, in order to get him away from the mother, starts sending him to a series of boarding schools. Now, he can't get in academically because he just has not really studied. He's not smart, book smart in that way. So the father sends big checks to get him into these boarding schools, but he doesn't thrive there at all. He's a loner. He likes 2 things, aviation and movies. That's it. He doesn't want to be around people. He doesn't want to interact. Boom. So he goes through this life, and then both of his parents died within 2 years of his 18th birthday. One of his parents, I think it was his father, died when he was 18. At that time, he had mega money, mega opportunities, and what he did was took all of that money and went to Hollywood. Started making films. Some of you know his story. If you watch The Aviator, it tells some of it with Leonardo DiCaprio. tells part of his story. Well, he starts socializing. And man, he's the Smith. I use Smith because y'all know what I mean. But he is the Smith. All of the women want to be with him. He's got money. He's spreading around. Nothing is impossible. He's making movies. He's living out his love. And then he gets involved in aviation, his other love. And some of you know he created some amazing things, the Spruce Goose and all of that. Just did some amazing things. Well, one of his projects went on a test run, a flight in California, in Los Angeles, and had almost a fatal crash near Beverly Hills. And that was a tremendous failure. Now, most of you know his story. People kept saying he was crazy. The dreams that he dreamed, the things that he imagined, the planes that he imagined what they could do. He was a Tesla back in, what's Tesla's name? Elon Musk. He was a Elon Musk back in the day. And people were saying, no, you can't do that. That's kind of crazy. No, it's not going to happen. And so after that one failure, he locks himself in a hotel room for 4 months and does nothing but watch movies, eat chocolate, drink milk, and there's another chicken. No showers, no baths, no nothing. And he's in one hotel and they're like, can you please check out? We need to do something. And guess what he did? He bought the hotel. So he got that kind of money, that kind of opportunity, has a failure. And from that point on, he lives recluse in hotels that he purchases. So much so they said that his nails became like claws. He would urinate in jars. He had this thing and he would not come out. And he died a recluse. That's some ankle deep stuff. Because you got, and I'm saying this for a reason. Some of us think we need money, right, to make it. Or we need this, people, or we need that. He had all of that. And he went and lived small. That same lonely little boy that was in those schools and at home watching films and dreaming about aviation, that's who he was at his latter life. He couldn't get past his experiences and his failure. I've been guilty of that. I've lived small. I've said, I had that major failure. And I've had some, those of you that know me, know I've had some. But what did I do with those? Yeah, I sulked for a while, but I got up. How many of you have ever had any failures? Or you said, no, I can't fulfill that dream because my mama was my daddy was I was born in my color is my ethnicity is my gender is right? All of those stories we tell ourselves to keep ourselves ankle deep. But we can't stay ankle deep. I'm retired. I was coming to retire. I was coming to Maui to retire. Do you know what retire means? Sit on the beach, occasionally drink some Mai Tai, and enjoy the weather. Now here I am, graduated with my AA last year. Woo-hoo! With honors, enrolled in dual BAs that I'll graduate next May with honors. Going on for my master and my PhD like I promised my husband I would, and I'm having the time of my life. I carry 6 classes. People are like, have you lost your mind? I'm like, yep. You follow what I'm saying? So it's never too late to live the dream. Okay, let's go to the next one. So the next one, as Ezekiel's in the water, is get knee deep now. And the knee deep is very interesting. Because you still got a little comfort in the knee deep, right? If you're standing in the ocean and it's knee deep, you're like, okay, no need to panic. We still got a little time. But the knee deep is about gaining courage. And we're going to talk about the gift of courage. Thank you. Now, all of you that know me know that my major is ethnic studies. And those who I've talked to, it's for a reason. I believe that we are a diverse collection. As I look around this room, man, I see so much diversity in age and ethnicity and all of those different ways. And that's important. That's an important part of what I see. What I envision is this right here. But it means not leaving anybody out. How many of you know what that means, right? So I'm not going to go too deep because I could really go deep in this. But I had Dr. Kailani Jackson for a reason. All of us live in Hawaii, right? Or most of us. I'm making an assumption. Some may be a visitor. There will be times when you're called on to be a revolutionary, a disruptor, a change maker. Now, you may do it quietly. You may go about it may be your personality to be a quiet change maker. That's good, just as long as you're doing the work. But Dr. Trask was loud with hers, sort of like me. I'm loud with mine. But I do it with love and with a sense of disrupting thoughts that we think and figuring out how we can all have win-win in it. So Dr. Trask was an amazing historian, scholar, writer, author, activist. She is responsible for helping to formulate the Hawaiian studies in the university system. Now, she was not afraid to go against the grain or to speak truth to power, as the younger people say. So she gained national attention in 1990 for doing something that was very controversial. There was an undergraduate student who wrote to the school newspaper and other places saying that the Native Hawaiians were racist to the white people on island. That's what they said, right? And so she told him, you don't understand what racism is, and you can leave the island. Now, she goes from being a local person to national attention. This spreads everywhere. How dare she? How dare she say that? Well, those of you who study and know what racism is, you understand that in this system, Hawaiians cannot be racist. They can be biased. They can say some things. But the very root of racism is about a structural power. And the Hawaiians did not own or have a lead over any structural powers. You follow me? So that means, therefore, she couldn't be racist in what she was saying. Now, this is what she said a little later. And I'm going to do some explaining. Lucy got some explaining to do, because when I first say it, it might hit you. This is what she said. The Americans, my people, are our enemies. And we must understand that. They took our land. They imprisoned our queen. They banned our language. They forcibly made us a colony of the United States. Now, that sounds very rough. that a person could say that, right? Because a lot of people want to go and play small. This is not the place to rock boats. They're telling her, stop rocking boats. And she said, no, I said what I said. And I meant what I said. Now, when she used that word enemy, I want to break this down in a context in which we can understand it today. How many of you know what's going on in Ukraine and Russia? So if you're a Ukrainian today, and you're looking at all of the devastation, all of your places, all of your people that are dying, right? When Captain Cook came here, there were about 1 million Hawaiians. And by the time, almost 100 years later, when they took the Queen captive, there were about 34,000. How many is that? 1 million to 34,000. Death, disease, all of those kind of things. What would have happened if, when they saw Captain Cook come and said, don't get off that boat? Because Captain Cook said in all of his travels, he had never seen the technology, the ingenuity of the Hawaiian Islands. But as most indigenous people, they welcomed them. But later on, the same people who were welcomed didn't want to cohabitate. They wanted it all, right? And so as a result, she's looking at this. And the reason she says enemies is, if you're a Ukrainian today, seeing what's happening to your land, seeing what's happening to your people, and if you're in Russian, you're a Russian that is complaining and protesting, you're doing Black Lives Matter in Russia. Same protests about injustice. Am I right? And they're being killed in Russia for speaking against it. They're being imprisoned, right? That's a protest. If the Ukrainians today called Putin an enemy, would it be true? Absolutely. It would be true. So when we bring that context, we can understand what she was saying. She saw her people couldn't even live on the land. They had to leave and go to the mainland. They couldn't afford to live in their land, still to this day. So Dr. Trask represents that knee deep of courage, that when people say to you, no, your dream's too big, or I don't like the way you said that, or you do that, or stop it, go sit down, right? Any of that, you can stand up with courage and say, no, this is what the truth is. I'm powerful. How many of you know you're powerful? Wave your hand at me if you know. I'm checking. I'm creative. I have every resource I need to get the job done. That's the truth. And that's what she did. She spoke the truth. She was criticized by the faculty, by the students, by people, but she spoke her truth. And she wouldn't back down from it to the day she died at 71 from cancer. She never backed down. She had a hope and a belief in Hawaiian sovereignty. She never saw it. We've got to stop basing success on outcome. How many of you know success and outcome don't necessarily go together? She was successful because she did what her heart told her to do. She had courage to do it, and she did it. And that's that ankle deep. That knee deep. That says, you got courage. You can do this. No matter what they said about you, no matter what you said about yourself, you can do it. All right, let's go to the next one. Woo, we're getting deep now. We're getting waist deep. And I purposely put this picture of this African-American woman up here because I'm getting ready to tell the story of my African-American friend. So Marcy is here today. Wave, Marcy. I asked Marcy for permission to tell something that she shared with me last week when she and her husband and I went out to eat. And Marcy said that she had always had this fear of swimming, right? And so she starts not that she's old, but I'm saying at her age, she says, I got this fear and I'm going to conquer it. And what does she do? She starts taking swimming lessons. Give Marcy a hand. That's transformation. That's transformation. But I got to tell you this little part of it. So her instructor is teaching them the code class, and the instructor tells them to go down underneath the water and touch the bottom. And Marcy says immediately, no, I'm not doing it. No. And the teacher said, I'll be there with you. I got you. Just go down and touch it. And Marcy is debating. It's like, nope, I'm not, because that's her fear. Being in the deep end and touching the bottom, oh no, that means I got to get down there. The instructor helps her, and Marcy does it. Clap for you, Marcy. And she said when she came up, she was like, that was nothing. Uh-oh. Somebody please take my phone outside, my purse outside. I forgot to turn my phone off. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you. Somebody's watching me and said, girl, I heard what you just said. I got to call you. But Marcy did it, and she said, it wasn't that bad. Why? Because she broke past the fear. She got into the courage. Now, waist deep, you got to take another step. And waist deep is about the gift of boldness. Now, it's an amazing gift, and I use Marcy's story, and I'm getting ready to use a story of somebody else that is very familiar to me. All right. Now, you're getting ready to see my family. Many of you know that I've shared with you that I am the Shawnee First Nation tribe. And I am the 8th generation of Chief Tecumseh. And my mama was the 7th generation. Isn't she beautiful? That's my mama. And I bring Tecumseh. His name was actually Tecumseh. He was born in 1764. And the night he was born, a meteor went over where they were living in Ohio. And so they named him Tecumseh, which means shooting star. And he was of the Panther tribe. And I guess they would be called their prophets. They saw in him that this meant that he was going to be a tremendous leader with great responsibility. And so I use I'm going to just say great-grandfather. You know he's my 8th great-grandfather. To talk about boldness. Now, I told you when he was born, he was always talked about as being a great chief, a great leader, a persuasive orator, charismatic. And he worked with the white colonizers to try to get them to understand what First Nation people were feeling. And okay, you guys got this part. We've entered treaty with you in this part. Please keep the treaty. All we're asking you to do is do what? Keep the treaty. But they didn't want to keep the treaty. They wanted more. And more and more. And Tecumseh had history too. When he was 6 years old, his dad, who was chief, went out fighting to protect their people, and he was murdered. So Tecumseh is like, I want to use these gifts. I'm going to try to do this peacefully. I'm just asking you guys to understand, we can all share this land. And that's what the First Nations were about when the colonizers came to their shore. Come on in. It's a big land. Let us teach you how to hunt. Let us teach you how to fish here. Let us teach you how to grow crops. No. So Tecumseh got very upset, and he said, I'm going to go through and organize my people. I'm going to create an intertribal unity. They say he covered, in 6 months, 3,000 miles. That's a lot of miles. But he was determined, and he was bold. He said, listen, they're not going to stop unless we stop. They're not listening. We've done everything we could to stop it. So I'm going to talk about two major things that Tecumseh did. I could talk about my grandfather all day, but I won't, because we got to leave. Two things he's known for. One is an earthquake. So he went around trying to gather up all of these different First Nations, and he got to the Creeks. And the Creeks was like, they was fat and satisfied. They had got some money and some guns and some alcohol for some of their land. They're like, no, we don't know if we want to go fight. He said, I tell you what, if you don't join us, when I get to Detroit, I'm going to stamp my feet 3 times, and the land is going to shake from there all the way down through the Mississippi. That's a bold statement, isn't it? Guess what happened? They didn't want to join. When he got to Detroit, he kicked his feet, hit the ground 3 times. The first earthquake registered in Detroit and went all the way down through the Mississippi. And let me tell you how powerful it was. I wrote down who they are. The U.S. Geological Survey wrote that earthquake was 10 times stronger than the earthquake that destroyed San Francisco in the 1800s. He wasn't playing. That's some boldness. Next thing he did, I'm just talking about, he did a lot of things. Next thing that he's known for is what's called the Tippecanoe, or the 0-year curse. Some horrible things happened in Tippecanoe. That was a village where the Shawnees were living. He had left his twin brother there. Some people say it's his brother. It was his twin brother, the prophet. And women, children were assassinated, murdered, some horrible things. And it was done by William Henry Harrison, who was the governor of the Indiana Territory, later on became president. Tecumseh was so mad, he issued a curse. He said, every president elected in a 0 year will die. That's some boldness, isn't it? It happened, every president that was born in the, elected in a 0 year, all the way up to Reagan, who was shot, but did not die. And it has not appeared yet. Obama was elected in the 0 year. Thank you, Grandpa. But guess who the first president was that died? Take a guess. William Henry Harrison. 4 months into his presidency. I'm telling you this, if I ever stamp my feet 3 times and throw up a 0 sign, somebody better run. I got my grandfather's genes. I'm just kidding. But I wanted to tell you that boldness. He was bold. And he was so bold that people that were against him had to honor him and say, what a mighty man. Let me tell you what Harrison wrote about him. This is what he said. Later on, after he was dead, and I don't have time to go into all of that, but after my grandfather died in 1813, this is what Harrison said. Oh, wait, I got to tell you about, no, I'll tell you about that later. Harrison called Tecumseh one of those uncommon geniuses which spring up occasionally to produce revolutions and overturn the established order of things. Yeah. And guess what? As you're transforming and letting discomfort do you, you're that same thing. You're an uncommon genius. That means all the giftings, all the sources, all the resources, you already have it, right? Think about it. That's what that waist deep tells us. Oh, we got boldness now. What we thought we couldn't do, we can do. Right? All right, let's roll on down. We getting near there. Okay, so the next one, oh my God, I love it. The next one is total immersion. When Ezekiel went into, and the guide was measuring every step of the way. And that measurement to me represents that there are processes that we go through in each level of transformation, right? There are things, and each time they measured out the same. But in this deep water, this is about swimming in the allness, full potentiality, nothing left untouched by your presence. And I'm going to explain why. Next one. This right here is, yeah, you can clap for. This is the Honorable Kailani Brown Jackson. Very proud of her. When I tell you her story, you're going to be quite amazed. Now, the total immersion is very important. When Jesus, in Luke 5:3-4, there are people standing on the shore, and there's so many people, he said, I'm getting a boat, go out a little bit from the water, from the shore, and I'm going to teach them from there. So he did. And to me, metaphysically, think about that. Where are most people? Thank you. They ain't even getting in the water. What does that mean? If you look at it about what we're talking about, most people are going to live, die, breathe on the shore. Why? Because they don't want to get ankle deep. They don't want to look at the opportunity. They don't want to get knee deep and have to have courage. They don't want to get waist deep and have to get some boldness. So most people is living on. I'm hoping the day comes when we change those dynamics. All the people in the deep end and hardly nobody on the shore. That's my goal. And then when he finished teaching them, he said to Peter, launch out into the deep and get a catch. Deep, isn't it? Launch out into the deep. And out in the deep is the catch. That's your catch, out in the deep. So you can do this allness. She's an example. So 40 years ago, this woman, first grader, in Dade County, she won the Youth Fair Award for reciting a poem called For My People. She was a first grader, won the award. They said when she left there, she was so encouraged, so inspired, so just ready. She was going to change the world. She learned to read at 3. Her dad, and a little history about her mother and father. Her father and her mother lived in the Deep South and went to segregated schools doing Jim Crow. Think about that. And so they raised Kailani. The mother's a principal. The dad becomes a chief legal person. He goes to college, gets a law degree. And Kailani watches him in these law books. She's mesmerized. And at a young age, she knows this is what she wants to do with her life. She wants to be a lawyer. She wants to be an orator. And then as she get in high school, how profound she is, and it tells about her journey. I don't have time to go into it. But in the high school that she went to, Miami Palmetto Senior High School, she was elected president sophomore, junior, and senior year. She gets on the debate team, and she's so good. They're like, we need her. And so they're just winning and winning. And a national debate comes up that she's committed to. But guess what happens? It's on the same day as her graduation from high school. And Katanji has to make, I should call her honorable, not Katanji. But Katanji has to make a decision. Does she honor her commitment to her debate team? Or does she do something personal for herself and graduate? Take a guess what she did. She went to the debate, and guess what she did? She won first in the nation. That's the kind of woman that she is. Now watch this. I want to go to read from her acceptance speech, because this is typifies that full immersion experience. This is her acceptance speech. I just got parts of it, and I'm about to wrap up. One of the first things she said is, first, as always, I have to give thanks to God for delivering me as promised. Not just thanking God, but for doing what? Delivering me. That meant she went through some things. As promised. That same is true for you. Next thing she says, she's talking to her husband. Patrick, thank you for everything you've done for me over these past 25 years of our marriage. You've done everything to support and encourage me. And it is you who have made this moment possible. Your steadfast love gave me the courage to move in this direction. I don't know that I believed you when you said that I could do this, but now I do. And for that, I am forever grateful. Now, very briefly, they are an unlikely pair, them two. I told you a little bit about her history. Her great-grandparents were enslaved people. Deep South, everything against them that said, no, you can't do it. He, on the other hand, he traces his family back to the original colonists. His grandfather, Edward Jackson, born in 1708, was one of the original colonists and a Boston Brahmin. That's the elite status. That's the muckety of the muckety. And the two of them meet at Harvard. Unlikely. And get up together. Now, what did he do? Was he also being transformative? Absolutely, he was. Sometimes your transformation process is to help somebody else reach theirs. Right? That's what he did. She thanked him. He believed in her, said she could do it. She didn't know she could. Then this is the next thing she said. 3, I have spent years toiling away in the relative solitude of my chambers with just my law clerks in isolation. Nobody knew Katanji. Did you know her 2 months ago? No. It don't take God a long time to do what he got to do. But she said for all those years, she was in isolation in her law office with just her law clerks. Sometimes it'll see.
The interment of Cindy's ashes will be Saturday, April 30 at 1 p.m. And Cindy was a beautiful spirit. She was secretary here at our church for a long time. And those of you who frequented the Friends of the Library know that she was a manager there too. Okay. BB, we're going to sing happy birthday to you. Ready, everybody? Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday, dear BB. Happy birthday to you. Yay! All righty. If you notice, if you pass by our parking lot, there are some new stripes painted. We want to thank Emanon and Carrie for doing the painting. Oh, okay. Okay, come on up.
Mike Fleenor has brought to Unity a new activity group, and it's got an indoor and an outdoor activity each month, so 2 activities each month. Last night was bowling, and Kelly and I went, and Kelly even got 2 strikes before her arm gave out and she couldn't bowl anymore, and I sort of crashed about halfway through myself, but it was fun to try, and a lot of others were there who were good bowlers, and they continued on for a while. So in the upcoming month, May, there's a hike, the Maui Coastal Land Trust Walk on May 7th, and Password Game Night on Saturday, May 21st. And you can find those listed in the e-blast as well. And Mike wants ideas, if you have ideas to bring to him. And his phone number is in the e-blast, and I'll give it to you as well if you want it afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And Kailani, I have notes here. It says got lost. And oh, okay. You won't get lost in this hike, I promise. All right, we'll start to use our new van to transport people from the county building on Sundays soon. If you would like to serve Unity on Maui by being a van driver, please see Kealoha. There she is. And any other announcements? It was so grand to be here with you today. All righty, please stand and let's say the prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Where